Okay, so in this next training, we're going to talk about taking custom requests from clients and then do a little example as well. So, special requests from clients are going to include questions needing team member input from the team to answer and follow up with the client, advertising special events and promotions or custom campaigns, service changes or updates. Special requests come by the way of like phone calls to our virtual office line, Zoom meetings, text messages to our virtual office line, and email correspondence. We also set up special advertising planners for the client that you'll need to check on, and then also there are updates that come in. But again, this is what being a client success representative, a good professional client success representative means, is that you have a good relationship with the client, you're in communication with them, and when they have special event requests, you know about it. You see that it's there, and you communicate it to the team. So any sort of promotions they need to run or special events, we are on top of it. Or if they want to make changes to an ad, you're talking to the media buyer, seeing if it's appropriate, communicating that information back to the client, and then if the changes get made, making sure they get changed again. Testing and verifying it's done, testing it, or sending proof of it being done to the client. Okay, so taking special requests requires updating the ClickUp task for the client service task with proof of communication. So make sure you're saving a PDF copy of the email, uploading it to the task for the team's reference. Screenshot of a text message. If they text, just screenshot it, throw in the comment, and ClickUp. These things don't take very long at all. We're talking a matter of seconds to do these things. If there's a Zoom meeting recording, it's a course of due diligence when we do Zoom meetings with the client to upload that recording into their client folder in Google Drive, okay, and then create a share link that we actually send to the client afterwards. So we should already have that ready to repost inside of the ClickUp task if it needs to be referenced. Like if you have a meeting with the client and they're asking specific questions about the media buying, and you're saying, hey, let me go to the team, and maybe they even share their screen. The client shares their screen and looks at their ad account to ask a question. You say, okay, well, let me follow up with the team and come back to you with a more educated answer. You might want the media buyer to actually look at that meeting recording. So you would actually put that in the task just like you would with an email or a screenshot of text message. And this is really important that we're documenting communication with clients and we're being very detail oriented about it, because especially within ClickUp and the ClickUp tasks, as we do that, it creates a knowledge base for the client. Because anybody that works with that client can look at the communication history for the client and go through the history to see what has been said, what's been uploaded, and get caught up on the client, basically on client communication. So it's up to you to make sure as you take custom requests from the client and custom communication requests that you're uploading those things into the ClickUp task comments. So you're creating that client's knowledge base, and you are responsible as the CSR to creating a good detailed knowledge base for each client as you communicate with them by updating ClickUp comments, because you might not be the same CSR working with that client a week from when you're working with them. We may have to move you on to another project. You may have to go cross-train. We do frequent cross-training where you have to go and learn onboarding, where you're working in operations. So we need you to warm transfer the client to another CSR, and they need to have that knowledge base there. And you'll see too, you may even take over an account where there's an existing knowledge base that you need to research. So the last CSR that's working on the account, creating that knowledge base sets you up for success. So you need to make sure you're alerting team people properly that are working on the task and using the @ symbol in ClickUp to tag them to raise things to their attention that you're asking a question. So you tag them so that it raises it to their attention. They see it in their notifications in ClickUp, and then they answer the question, right? Now, if it's an action item, they need to actually do something. You're actually going to assign the comment as an action. You can assign it as a task. So it's kind of like having a little mini task in the comments, where you're pulling in that person to take care of that custom request or that comment, and you're assigning it to them. If they complete that thing and you see it's like a media buyer or another team member and they haven't crossed it out, make sure you remind them, hey, make sure you clean up your assigned task. They need to check mark the box that they finished it, basically. So 2 different ways there to alert people. You use the @ symbol for questions, and then you're going to assign them comments where they need to go ahead and take an action item. Okay, we always try to accommodate client requests, but not outside of our scope of work, obviously, like we've discussed. When the request is technical, we need to make a best practices recommendation and not just do what the client is telling us to do, like we've talked about as well, because the client is not a media buyer and they pay us to do the media buying. So many times when this is the case, it is important to let the client know in a second communication that we can accommodate their request, but it might not be best practice if that is the case. So again, an example would be like if the client says, hey, the ads are going really good. We're spending like $2,000 a month. We're doing really well. We want to spend $10,000 a month. Okay, well, let me get with the team and see how that will go, and then I'll get back to you. Don't just tell them, yeah, sure, no problem. We'll just do it right now. Okay, this is a technical process. Any changes to the ads or the media buying is a technical process, and you need to communicate very well with the client and say, great, let me get with the team and see what it would take to get that done properly without hurting your results. And that's the key language. Let me see how we can do that without hurting your successful results. Same thing the other way around. Sometimes another common customer request might be for the client to say, hey, we're going into a slow season, and what we'd like to do with our ads is cut the ad spend in half. We're spending like $10,000 a month now. Let's just cut it down to $5,000. Okay, well, let me get with the team and see how we go about doing that without hurting the results too badly for you. And then get some more details from them and say, when are you looking to try to do this, right? And then go to the media buyer, ask them best practices, that sort of thing, and then go back to the client and say, hey, looks like we can get it done for you. We'll have it cut down, within the next 4 or 5 working days or whatever the media buyer says. Just make sure that when the client is asking you to do technical things around the media buying, you're coming back to them with an educated response, okay, and following up with them. And if they're trying to do something that's, we're saying, hey, that's actually not recommended. Like they might say, hey, there's this one ad that I don't like. Go ahead and stop that ad. And you say, okay, let me get with the media buyer to see if we can accommodate that for you, and I'll get back with you. Go to the media buyer and say, hey, the client wants to turn off this ad. Is that going to hurt their performance? Always ask that question. Is it going to hurt their performance to do this? And what would be your best practices recommendation? If the media buyer says, hey, we can turn that ad off, but it's gonna kill 90% of their sales leads because that ad is actually what's getting most of those leads, say, okay, well, before you do that, let me tell the client. You go back to the client and say, hey, we can definitely turn that ad off for you. Just know that like it's getting 90% of your leads right now. And they might say, oh, well, don't do it then. Okay. The other part of creating custom requests is that if you're in a main task, you need to get in the habit as a CSR of using the ClickUp features at your disposal in creating subtasks with due dates and custom requests so you can set your own timelines on those subtasks. It's really easy to add a subtask within a task in ClickUp and then just set a due date on it and then add maybe the media buyer to it or something and leave a Loom video for them with instructions or put something in the comments to that effect, So just because, you're waiting on a team member to complete something, it doesn't really absolve you. It doesn't absolve you at all of the responsibility to the client. So keep in mind that doing things like creating a subtask or using your Google Calendar to remind you of things, it's really important because you need to be following up. You need to be talking to your team members, pushing things forward as a CSR, making sure you're meeting the deadlines. And if things fall through and, I come to you and I say, hey, why is this client canceling their service because you didn't get their ads launched? And you say, oh, well, the creative team took a long time and then the client wouldn't communicate with me. And none of that matters because you're the one that's responsible for this stuff. And if we have clients canceling service because you're not pushing these things forward, and handling custom requests properly, then I have to replace you and you can't work within my company anymore, okay? So it's important to leverage your technology as well. use subtasks in ClickUp, use the due dates, use the assigned comments, and use the comments as like a task and assigning comments to people as a task. So now I'm going to give you some examples of this in ClickUp and a couple of actually real-time examples of custom requests from clients that I then translate into ClickUp and bring the rest of the team into. All right, thanks.
Hey, so you're going to get special requests from clients to run specific ads. Like here, this particular client sells like garage fixtures like slat wall and shelves. They're running a special in March, like next month. So these are usually ads that are like time based that you need to update the media buyer with and update the task. Here's the details, and then they actually sent some collateral. So this is not uncommon, where they say, hey, here's like what we want to do. Here's like some collateral, like some imagery to run the ad. And, you know, you may have to send a message back like I did here and say, hey, when do you want to go live with this? Like you need the details of like when to go live. And so you know, they're saying, hey, we just want to go live with this ASAP, so they want to build the ad right away. And then they didn't really say what the budget is, so I replied, hey, what's the budget? Okay. So normally we get more information, but it's up to you as the CSR to reply to this. You know, if they're messaging me a lot or your team leader, that's not good because, you know, you should be the one communicating with them as a CSR. So this is a point here you want to pay close attention to. Okay, you'll see how my response was too. She asked for some metrics, so I gave her like her cost per lead. You know, I asked her if she's getting her KPI report okay, her key performance indicator. That's another thing as a client success rep is your job to ensure that she's getting, that the clients are getting key performance indicators regularly. Okay. So anyway, what you have to do is go into ClickUp. Okay. You got to go find the task. So we're going to go find this client. It's a lead generation client. This is Michael Bailey, HDR Garage. Okay. And we can see that we have our tasks here. Here's the media buying task. You can see like here's where sometimes I'm discussing things with the media buyer. We send Loom videos back and forth. But what you want to do is make the media buyer aware. Tag the media buyer. And also, if the media buyer is new, you're also going to tag me if needed and say we have a special ad request from the client. See the attached details. Please begin setup right away. We are waiting to hear back from the client on what the budget is. Okay. And so then what you do is you're actually going to, you know, so that the media buyer can see all of the communication. We're going to have this all here, and you're going to hit the print button. Now, this should show the entire correspondence. Okay. You're going to save it as a PDF. I like to name it what the special is. It's a March slat wall special. Make sure you're having an attention to detail here. Since we're working as a team, want to make sure all the details are transferred. Then we're going to add the file. Okay. Got the PDF file there. Then we got all this collateral. We're going to download it. Okay, we got that all downloaded. So now we'll go back to ClickUp, and we're simply going to in total, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and we can see what these file names are as well. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So we have the images, we have PDF, and then just make sure they know. Once we know what the budget is, please go live. Per the client, using validated targeting options already in use. So they want to like use the targeting options we've already tested and begun using. Okay. Okay, so that's one example. I'll give you a more defined example. Okay, this is a client. This is actually behind schedule. Normally, clients, they're going to, they need to send promotions like this a week in advance is what we normally say. So if they're just sending stuff right away, if they're sending us these giveaways and they're saying, hey, go live like tomorrow, like she sent this on the 16th and she's saying, hey, go live on the 16th. We just need to tell her, hey, we need like 5 working days, okay, to organize things and do a good quality job. We're requesting 5 working days. Like your turnaround time may be faster and it may be like ready to go in a day or two, but that's not always the case. And so as a rule, 5 working days is the best. And they should be planning ahead with their marketing schedule anyway. So anyway, what we need to do is the same thing. I'm going to, save this as a PDF. Boom. This is, she has deals. February giveaway. Promo. Okay, and we're going to go back. We saved that. Okay, she actually provided post IDs, which is very handy. We're going to jump back in here. Go to, she has deals here. Go to the advertising workflows. Jump over to the media buying tasks. And in her email, she actually indicates, I believe, the budget, the duration, and all of that. Okay, so we can easily go in here and say, at there is a special ad request We'll tag me in here, Roshan. Roshan is the media buyer. So pay attention to who the media buyer is. Okay. ASAP, see the details here. Okay, and then, there may be questions from the media buyer for the client and that sort of thing, and it's up to you as the CSR to go ahead and answer those questions. Okay, like if they're like, oh, well, there isn't a budget, or we don't have creatives, can we just use the current creatives? Like, whatever their questions are, you want to try to answer those questions. And if it's appropriate, ask the client. But there are inappropriate questions that sometimes your team members will ask you that you should not be asking the client. Anything unprofessional where somebody's asking about how to do their job, that does not go to the client. You should not be going to the client and asking the client questions about Facebook Ad Manager, how to run ClickUp tasks, like anything like that, that's unprofessional. The only thing you should be getting from the client is details about what they want. Like, what do they want to spend on the ads? What kind of collateral do they want to use? Okay, when it comes to targeting, like who they want to target, they may tell you who they want to target, but then it's up to the media buyer to translate that into targeting in Ads Manager. Okay, there should be no technical questions about targeting going back to the client unless it has to do with getting like data sources from the client to create lookalike audiences. That's it. Like you should not be asking them what kind of behaviors or interests do they want to target or any of that stuff. They are just going to give you general information about who they want to target. Then we need to do it, okay? Because it's up to us on the media buying side to determine, best targeting options to get the client the best results. Once the client starts dictating our targeting to us, we might not get very good results for them. And so it's important that we stay professional and only ask the client professional questions to clarify things, okay? So you can see I sent this through the PDF. And what we do is actually click the assignment button for the comment, assign the media buyer, okay? So the media buyer is actually assigned to the comment. They're tagged in it. We can see that we have the collateral and everything here for them to go ahead and go live with the ad. Okay? I hope this makes sense for like custom requests for advertising. And like what's required from the client when they're asking for stuff like this. Just make sure that, we are getting what we need in advance. All right, thanks.